Jeff Franke with IEN and Finishing World here at the 2016 Surf and Show in Las Vegas. I'm joined by Tony Lazaro from Hardwood Line Manufacturing. Thanks for taking the time, Tony.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Hardwood Line, stuff that you guys do, the things you might be showing here. We've got a little something that we can show.
Sure, we have the controller, which is in back of me, and that's used for our rinsing system. That's the primary focus that we had for this year's show, which is to show water conservation. It allows customers to reduce the water amount that is brought in as well as what is just discharged for waste treatment. Basically what it does, it's a single station tank that takes the place of counterflow rinses. And the whole theory behind counterflow rinsing is it's an exponential amount of savings of water when you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But it takes more of a footprint to put multiple counterflows in rather than a single station. So if a customer wants to make better use of their line or more efficient use, you could remove the counterflows, put in a rinsing system, which we call a rinse master, and that would take the place of the multiple rinses, and they could then put in more process positions. The whole theory and the way it works is with that single rinse tank, it's an empty tank. It's made with a pitch bottom and spray heads that are on the top surface that wash down the barrel or the rack. The rinse master is positioned offline, and it is basically a 5-station counterflow rinse using 1 station of space. We cycle water back and forth from the rinse master to the single tank via the controls on this PLC. And what it does is give the operator control of how much time and how much water is to be used. So we generally tell the customer, start out with the least amount of water, given the time span that will be needed, and then see if the parts are clean enough. If they're not, give a little more water until you've reached the point where it makes sense, depending on the clarity that's needed.
Sure. In walking around the show, there's a lot of folks here that are focused on water recycling, water treatment. Have you seen the industry become just more receptive to it because they have to? Because the cost has become more effective, because of environmental regulations? What do you see really driving the metal finishing industry to be more receptive to water treatment?
It's more of falling within the mandated discharge limits, and it's getting cost prohibitive when you start saying I could use unlimited amounts of water, which was the case many years ago when they said the solution to pollution is dilution. They could just flood the tanks with as much water as they wanted. They can't do that anymore because whatever water they bring in, they have to discharge. And you'll see those dog houses in front of the plating shops where they monitor, do a 24-hour sampling. So yeah, it's predicated on saving water. There's 2 costs for water, incoming and outgoing.
Are people more open to making those investments? Do they understand the return that they're going to see, or can it still be a challenge sometimes?
That's one of the issues that all the companies face when they're trying to promote their system, is to how do you cost justify. And when you look at the metrics that are involved in assessing that information, certain points such as how many hours or how many tons of work do they need to produce per year, and how many hours do they want to throw at that, and you'll work out the equations with loads per hour, and that'll dictate if you fall within the constraint of saying you are a candidate for automation, or if you should stay with manual lines.
Tony, thanks again for taking the time. Again, it's Jeff Franke with the IEN and Finishing World at Surfin' 2016.
Thank you.
Thanks much, Tony. Appreciate it.